Well, there's not many hails going around today, is there? But hail, the Celts are here, everyone, and welcome to the channel. Thanks for clicking on the video. In the aftermath of the Armageddon that really was transfer deadline day for Celtic. And it's not really transfer deadline day in isolation, but it's really the whole transfer window, of course, as we're aware. But this week has felt like a month. So much has actually happened. In the video today, we're going to just recap really the train wreck that we've seen happen in slow motion before our eyes as Celtic have been dumped out the Champions League and have then stumbled our way across transfer deadline day trying to make the squad stronger somehow, yet not spending any money and everything else that we're going to get stuck into in the video, as well as have a quick overlook of where the club stands coming out the transfer window, profit and loss, players in and out, the actual arithmetic, the actual head count of it all. At any point in the video, if you do laugh, you could laugh at this one, I think, couldn't you? Learn, like something, cry, you know, all the usual stuff, of course. Please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. We are on the verge of breaking through 14,000 subscribers on the channel, but we're hoping to get to 18,888 and hopefully with your guys' support we can get there, because quite frankly, as Celtic fans, I think we could all use a little bit more support right now. We're turning more into a support group than a fan base. It feels like there's therapy sessions everywhere. And a huge shout out to our Substack subscribers that really keep the lights on here and keep the content coming, whether it be everything on the YouTube channel as well as all the articles that we've got and all the breaking news that Celts are here get their hands on from the ITK accounts that we've got linked into the network, as it were. It's £1 a week, it's £4 a month. The link is in the description of the video if you want to support all of the content on CeltsAreHere across all of the platforms that we cover it on. But on this one, guys, get into the comment section and give me your venom, your fire, everything. How are you feeling coming out of this? What are the expectations of the remainder of the season? Is this rescuable in January? What needs to happen in the aftermath now of the window so that we feel that something, heads of rolled, something's happened, you know? I'll kind of discuss how I feel about all that as we get through the video, of course, but comment section for you guys. Get stuck into it. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into the video because we've got a bit of a time lapse. We've got a bit of a moving feast kind of element here to start the video off because it has been a slow motion train wreck of a week. This is how the squad looked coming into the Kairat game, coming out of the Kairat game, however you want to think about that. That was only this week, you know, that was, or within the last 7 days certainly. We still had no replacement for Kyogo in the squad. We still had no replacement for Kuhn in the squad, and quite frankly the whole squad is not in a state of improving, you know, overall, and I think we can see that, and that's where a lot of the frustrations come from. But I'm one of those idiots, and you might be one of those idiots as well, that in the aftermath of Kairat got a little bit excited that maybe there was a wake-up call, maybe there was a cold shower. We quickly seen the loan signing of Marcelo Sarace from Boca Juniors, which isn't too much of a saving grace by all accounts and all the reports that we see coming out of South America. Boca Juniors are the one that phoned us and said, we've got a backup left back if you want him, you can take him on loan. But we did push the boat out. We really, you know, made sure that we signed Michel Ange Balikwisha, and that was a long-standing target. And, you know, when you feel that that domino fell, I don't know about you guys, but I was rather optimistic that it might have been the first of a couple of dominoes that might have fallen for us, and we might have seen the front line strengthened. We might have seen our departed heroes replaced with, you know, good caliber players that could go at the Europa League, that could ensure further domestic dominance, which is the staple diet of all things Celtic. We then get into transfer deadline day, and very quickly it feels like Yang is going to be leaving the building. We're also going to be having Adam Ida leave the building, which I feel like was a bit of a surprise. But that really kicked Celtic into gear, and we've seen quite quickly that Kasper Dolberg was a deal that Celtic were progressing with, and there was some hitches. This was protracted over like a 48-hour period on the payment schedule, you know. So we'd agreed the fee with Anderlecht, but then the majority of the negotiation was centred around how much money we pay up front, how much is on the drip, you know, over the next, you know, 2 years or year or whatever, how much of it is tied into incentives like goals and appearances, whatever, sell-on clauses, that kind of stuff. And it was quite clear early on in deadline day that Tuniki was one of our main Europa League list signings, because at this stage we're at deadline day, we're out the Champions League, and from everything the club try and put out there and hold out to us is that they've got players scouted. There's a plan Champions League, there's a plan Europa League, there's a plan for this, that and the other thing. If we sell this guy, we know what to do. This is the stuff they try and tell us. Obviously in reality there seems to be nothing, but one thing that was clear was Tuneki was certainly on the winger list if we were in the Europa League, because it felt like we woke up and it was right, let's send some bids. And it was like real, I don't know if you've ever tried to sell anything on eBay or anything like that, you know, but just these offers of incrementally going up by, in this case, €500,000 at a time, trying to see where Hammarby's kind of bite point was. And there was really strong reports coming out that Dahlberg was essentially going to be coming in for Adam Ida. Ida was going to be going to Swansea for the thick end of £6-7 million, and Dahlberg where we're basically getting for around the €10 million mark. So not much of a difference really. That deal kind of washes its own face for the most part. And Tuneki coming in would have been the replacement for Yang. Yang's on his way to Birmingham for $3 million. Can we spend about $3-4 million? Celtic were trying $2 or $3 million for Tuneki as a replacement from him out of Hammarby. And then the strong reports continue to say we're after another, probably a midfielder that might have been coming out of England or whatever, with the difference in the deadline, as well as another winger. And by the time I finished the afternoon show on Axon with Paul John, this is the way things were sitting. But right towards the end of the show, the rumour started to come out that the Dahlberg deal had hit a bit of a snag. A couple of things had developed. The first thing, and again, I've not had a chance to fact check this, so by all means, please fact check me in the comment section, right? But I've seen reports online that Dahlberg was signed, sealed and delivered. Celtic were ready to do the deal, but then when we actually put the offer in writing, we had like changed the numbers. So rather than giving them 8.5 up front, we were trying to do like 7.8 or 7.6 up front. And Anderlecht were like, WTF, what you doing? You know, what is this? And the only way I can think is like, are they trying to play stupid with euros and pounds? Are they trying to act like a second-hand, you know, car sales deal? Again, I don't know if any of you have ever sold a car online. I've got a few friends that used to do it as like their main source of income, and a common strategy and that kind of thing. If you're buying a car privately from someone else's, you know, it's listed for 4 or 5 grand. You show up there with only 3.5 grand in your pocket, and that's just the end of it. And from there, you try and get the deal done. And whether it's that, trying to play daft with the numbers, maybe actually being daft and getting the wrong numbers and sending the wrong thing over, I don't know what it was. But that caused a further delay in getting Dahlberg signed and delivered and over the line. In which time Ajax sell striker Brian Brobby to Sunderland, and then they want to bring back former academy graduate of their own, although he's a Danish international, Kasper Dahlberg, back to Amsterdam, back to Ajax. And Dahlberg was his coming to Glasgow. Has previously been in Ajax. He might have even played against us, maybe even scored against us. That's when he was there, like 7 or 8 years ago. And he finds that move a bit more palatable. And very quickly, that deal gets done and Dahlberg comes firmly out of the equation. And now we are at like 5-6 o'clock UK time, 4 o'clock maybe a little bit earlier than that. And the wheels just come off from there. That another signings disappear. There's no chat of anything other than Tuneki and Dahlberg, and then it goes quiet all on the Western Front. It then turns out Birmingham City have went and signed Paddy Roberts, which means they no longer need Yang. And the reason they've went and done that is because, again, allegedly, we don't know this for fact, Michael Nicholson did not return the phone calls and emails from Birmingham City to get the deal over the line, signed, sealed and delivered. Yang had done 1, if not 2 medicals, and everything was considered done, which is why Michael Nicholson probably thought, I'm on the phone to somebody else, I'll phone them back in a minute, or just whatever, I don't know. But that deal falls through and Yang is coming back up the road from Birmingham. The Dahlberg thing collapses, and now we're at the mercy of thinking we really need to get this Tuneki guy in, and we then pay way over what Celtic wanted to pay for this guy, and probably way over what his transfer value was. The reported value is around €5.2 million. Now, I just want to say at this point, I will never associate this guy with his transfer fee, and I really hope no one ever says this guy cost us $5 million. We'll chat about him in a little bit in a second in terms of what he offers, how he profiles, and really where he really could fit into the team now that we see it in the flesh. But the window in England is closed, and a lot of other business has been done already throughout the entirety of the window to this point. This is the 11th hour. There is not too many movable pieces across European and world football that fit the profile, the price range, and the calibre of everything we need in a player at this point. Now, we started deadline day looking like this, shaping up to be like, oh, we could get Kasper Dahlberg in, a replacement for Yang, which is fine, just refreshes the squad, doesn't it? Plus two more other faces that could come into the squad to make it better, to move the squad on. Now, one of the another options that we thought might have came and turned our head in this window would have been some sort of Premier League offcast, some sort of Premier League scrap, a guy that's in a squad that's too bulging, or someone's move that's fallen through elsewhere. We were all kind of crossing our fingers that a Hail Mary would have happened and maybe somebody like Raheem Sterling might have showed up. But no, we were linked of another Chelsea player, David Datro Fofana. Now, as far as like Premier League cast-offs go, it's not really one that filled me with any degree of confidence. This is a guy that has been kind of alright at championship level at best. Is quite clearly proven at Chelsea and other teams that he's not Premier League level. Doesn't really move us on really when you look at it from the Adamida situation, but a player that's maybe got a bit of a ceiling, does have untapped potential, that if we were going to be buying, we could maybe have half gotten behind it, but it was going to be a loan. And then that collapsed because apparently he doesn't want to leave London. He doesn't want to move house. Now, if the Dolberg transfer didn't fall through because you're not in Champions League football anymore, doesn't this just absolutely bring the crows home to roost in that regard? Fofana knocks us back and he agrees a deal with Charlton, which eventually would actually undo itself. I'm not too sure what happened, but the deal doesn't actually progress ultimately for that. And within the space of 10 hours, 11 hours, 8 hours, whatever it was, this is the way the squad finishes up, where it looks like Kelechi Iheanacho, who has had his contract at Seville, are so skint, and they've done themselves out of a transfer fee from Celtic to just get whatever compensation Iheanacho's paid them to get the contract annulled and to get his wages off their books. They're just happy to do that deal. That's how bad dealing with us is, and really how little of a prized asset Iheanacho is in his current guise. And Iheanacho was a player I was very excited about like 10 years ago. I'm still a bit of a fan of the guy. I think he's a good player. He's got a good eye for goal and all the rest of it, but he is so far removed from what this squad needed and the level of player required to come in here. We've ended up keeping Yang and Yang's replacement. We've signed Balakwisha, who is maybe the closest thing that we've got, I suppose, on paper in the team to like a Kun replacement, but we don't have a Kyogo replacement, and we don't even really have an Ida replacement, for whatever that's worth. I do think Shin is kind of like the O replacement after Ida was the O replacement, but then Ida became the Kyogo replacement, and now we kind of, like, even if we do sign Iheanacho at point of recording, it's not actually over the line yet, it's just highly suspected at this point. I would probably rather we didn't sign him at this point, to be quite honest with you, and just stick Dyson through the middle and just run with it like this for the season and get to January and try and just get his... Because at the end of the day, like, Iheanacho coming in, what's he going to do? He's going to play the minutes he's going to play. How different is he going to be scoring wise? Ida scored 20 last season. How different is he going to be? Hard to say. If this is a situation we're in, we should really put some energy into Shin and Kenny and just let them, alongside Dyson. Dyson's going to play the big games through the middle, whatever. But beyond that, these are investment strikers. These are the only strikers we've done anything with in the window. We've gave Kenny a new contract. We've signed Shin for £1.5 million or euros or something. And we've brought in Osmond as the Cummings replacement, the Rocco Fata replacement, the Ben Doak replacement, whatever you want to think of it as. And, to bring Iheanacho in to stifle their progression is beyond, like, I wouldn't even sign Iheanacho. It's probably just the best way to summon that up, to be honest with you. Just as a good friend of mine, a good Jungle Jim used to say, you can only piss with the you've got. And this is a little bit of Celtic have made their bed, they should lie in it. And by all accounts, I see people cancelling home ticket scheme packages and no one's picking up Europa League tickets. This is, the fruit of what you sow. This is, blah, blah, you know the thing. To be honest with you, domestically, the midfield isn't too bad. I've also forgot to mention, we've seen him leave the screen, but we've also let Welsh go to Motherwell, which is fine. It just kind of cleans up defence a little bit, doesn't it? The midfield is kind of fine enough, isn't it? We're still trying to invest time and energy into Engels. Bernardo's still due some minutes in the team. And really, between Hatate and Negren, I've seen enough in there that, if they can play centre midfield together, they're going to cut teams open, they're going to score us goals, they're going to do fine. This is a World Cup year for Hatate, for Maeda. I'm not too sure where Sweden stand in the whole World Cup situation, but certainly guys like Alistair Johnson, the American centre-backs we've got, again, I don't really know where Ireland or Scotland are sitting in the reckoning for getting to World Cup and all the rest of it, but a big season ahead for these guys, so they should still be hyper motivated to be putting everything out there on the pitch and do really what is at hand right now, which is make sure we win the league. Like, I don't really care about cups at this stage. We need to win the league again and get back into those qualifiers for next year to really just try and anything from the situation. But anyway, we are where we find ourselves. When it comes to the wingers, right, I don't follow Swedish football. It's one of the few leagues that I don't really keep up to speed with. I've watched all this stuff about Tuneki that you guys have probably seen, and as a replacement for Yang, I can totally get behind this. As a guy that's going to replace Nicholas Kuhn or be one of our starting wingers, it's a huge gamble. Now, I think in terms of the gamble wingers that Celtic have had over recent years, Yang, Palma, Tilio, all these types of players, I actually think this one is the best that I've seen, you know, and out of all the players that when Celtic signed them, I'm like, I don't know who this guy is, never heard of him, never seen him on a radar anywhere or any kind of metrics. This guy, like we've often said on the channel, we would have had a player on our hands if we had a guy that could dribble like Yang and had the delivery of Palma. And it is just from highlight packages that you've all seen. I've not seen anything you guys haven't. This guy looks like that type of player where he dribbles like Yang. He's a front foot guy. He goes forward. He puts people on the back foot. He's got a good change of pace. You know, he can, you know, run down at 4th or 5th gear, put the brakes on for half a second and then go into top gear and blast past somebody. And for as much as everyone's making him out to be a right-footed winger, he certainly is a right-footed winger. Shots and crosses, very effective from the right foot coming inside here. His left foot works pretty fine as well, and his delivery coming into this channel here is much, much better than what we've had with Daizen Maeda. Now, as we've seen with Yang, Jota, and Daizen Maeda, and James Forrest, Brendan Rodgers, Celtic, we will play these wingers left or right side. We'll maybe even swap them through the game while we're still figuring things out to try and get the blend right of who plays on what side. So the actual profiling of him in that regard, I'm not too bothered about, because that right foot does have a good delivery on it, and if he was to come over here and take minutes off of Forrest and maybe start ahead of him, I think this is a player that we could do quite well out of, to be quite honest with you. And like I mentioned before, I don't want to hear a price tag around this guy's name ever, because it's got absolutely, it's not relative to the market, it's not relative to anything other than we've been bent over the barrel and it's Michael Nicholson or whoever is in charge of these things, they're can to carry. It's not the players, it's not the fans, it's not the manager, it's nobody, the transfer department, whoever's the sole person responsible. Now Yang is the one that I think a lot of Celtic fans are feeling for, because he huffs and he puffs and he gives everything for us, and he's had fleeting moments of good, you know, where he has excelled. Everyone makes the jokes about when his girlfriend was in town. I fought off the bench against Bayern Munich. He didn't do anything, but he certainly kept everything going the way it was. He didn't give Bayern Munich a weak link to go against, and he didn't let the tempo drop. And I've been a guy that will often defend Yang to the extent of he shows something, you know, he puts people on the back foot, he does run, he's happy to try with his right and his left. He was unlucky not to score the other week there with that header. He's a guy that tries, he gives everything out there, and, you know, that's a lot more than what you can say for some other guys. He's got a good frame, he's got a good size, he's got all the raw ability and all the basic minerals and materials to be a good winger. And, you know, when you see that O was this close to signing for Stuttgart for 28 million euros after having a season of just coming off the bench for Genk, and yeah, he started for them this year because they've tried to force an air striker out the door, which they eventually have. You would not rule out Yang going to Birmingham and being the best winger in the Championship or something like that, you know. So I don't know where his head is going to be at. I don't know what we're expecting out of Yang for the remainder of the season. And really, anything positive that comes from him at this stage is a positive for me. But with the amount of wingers we've got, who knows when Jota's actually fit and available, but he's going to be a new signing, isn't he, when that comes back. Balikwisha's still finding his feet in the team. I think we're going to see a lot more of Daizen through the middle, and probably Tuneki is going to be on the right side here, sharing minutes with Forrest, and then Yang takes up that kind of spot in and behind Balikwisha until we get Jota back, and this is probably going to be the main makeup of the forward line. And again, really, like I say, to bring Iheanacho back into it, does he really make that situation any better? Maybe a bit, if you think his experience and his kind of guile and whatever can carry him through, but he's not been terribly fit, you know, for the most part. He knocked us back in January, went to Middlesbrough, played 15 games, scored 1 goal in the English Championship, you know, so I wouldn't bother, you know, I really wouldn't, you know. I don't think we want Negren playing in the wide areas anymore. I think we've seen enough of that for this time. Now, we can go into the wide areas, but I think we've seen already that the number one thing Brendan's teams need in the wide areas, the number one thing is pace, you know. Technical ability can really come second, and that's why not Forrest doesn't have great technical ability, but his pace over 10 yards is what keeps him in and around the building. Yang's pace over 10-15 yards is what keeps him in the building, or it keeps him getting minutes and being somewhat usable for us. And Negren doesn't have that pace, you know. He does have the technical ability, he has the eye for goal, he has the awareness, good team play and everything else. There is a way to make it work out here, but when we're holding Anthony Ralston back to not bomb on, it's, again, same as Balikwisha in the Derby match. If you've not got the winger supporting you, those players that want to nip in and go towards goal, which is where they should be going, it's harder for them. They've got more people around them, they've got no one to bounce the ball off of or take a marker away from them. And if you're not going to do that, Negren can't play out wide. He has to be in this 8 position that we've seen him in most often for Celtic. And how badly do we need Jota, you know, really? If we get, as soon as Jota's back in the picture, I think everything feels a little bit better, doesn't it? But it's such a sad state of affairs. It's just desperate times. Now, I don't want to see McGregor dropped or anything like that, okay? But I do think also when we come out of this window, McGregor should be in a situation where, like, he's not guaranteed for 90 minutes and he should have to earn his stripes on the pitch. You know, Brendan kind of hung the players out to dry after the Derby match. And there might be some easy wins for the team because a little bit of freshening it up, with Bernardo in for McGregor perhaps, and then any combination of the midfield four you want to see in front of it, with Dyson leading the line, having some wingers that are energetic and here to, you know, make their name and be a hero in the situation. I'm just hoping at this point. I think I'm clutching at straws, but yeah, that was just the last thing I wanted to say on the squad as it's in front of me here, is there might just be a wee bit of an easy win somehow where we get out of it by hook or by crook. But now this is the transfer window according to Transfermarkt. So Celtic have spent 15 million euros on transfers, between what's reported here is 6.4 million. That must include all the add-ons and everything for Tuneke. We really just had to pay over the odds for this one. Balikwisha for 5 million, Yamada, Negren, and then Amura making up the transfer fees. And then we've got a bunch of free transfers and loans, obviously, in and behind that. Now, it says we've only made 23 million in transfers, but that's not including Adam Ida's transfer fee, which is just down here as a question mark. But it's reported to be around the £6 or £7 million mark. So in euros, you're looking at like 9 million euros or something. So the thick end of 31 million euros. 19 of that was on Nicholas Kuhn, of course, just over 2.5 on Lager Bielke, 1.5 on Tilio, and a quarter of a Quan. Can't believe we actually got a fee for him in the end. And then we've had some big loan departures as well. Taylor and Bain for the money they're on. But Palma, Naroki, I don't know why Schlip's included in that. Palma and Naroki is the main ones. Welsh is probably on a decent wee wage with all the contract extensions he's had and the time served over the years. And the fees that we'll add into this for Palma and Naroki, when those clauses are activated, will probably take the spend a lot closer to the 35 million euro mark, or the income I should say. This doesn't factor in as well Jeremy Frimpong sell-on clauses or anything else. In the end, Matt O'Reilly went to Marseille on loan. Edward went to Lens for 3 million, which I hear a lot of Celtic fans saying, why didn't we hijack that? If you're going to bring Jota back, you know, and Tierney, then, you know, why not bring Eddie? Maybe he didn't want it. O's deal broke down at the end. And Christopher Ayer was really close to making like a 15-20 million euro move to Wolfsburg. It doesn't seem to have materialised. But Celtic just couldn't help but make money in this window, really, no matter how the cookie crumbled. And to come out of the window spending half of what you brought in this window, if Celtic are so ring fencing of the money, it's just absolutely criminal at this point. Tomorrow's video will be going through how the transfer window could have looked, or how I would have done the transfer window. On this channel we've been scouting players. We're up to like episode 24 or something like that every Wednesday at 5 o'clock, and a bunch of them have moved, a bunch of them were in our range, a bunch of them profile just like the guys we've been going after, or better in a lot of cases. So I'm kind of half looking forward to doing that video just to see where some players have went, and just try and dream for a little bit of what the team could have looked like if we had someone competent kind of doing all this stuff or whatever. Before later in the week we'll be doing a report card for Celtic for how we do for this first little chapter of the season, the first couple of games up to the international window, what players have performed well, what we've seen on the pitch, all that kind of stuff. So plenty of content coming at you over the international break. Please subscribe to the channel for all that content, hit the little notification bell so you'll catch us when we go live on Thursday nights and Friday afternoons as well. On screen are now some other videos that we've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. If you did enjoy the video somehow, some way, laugh, crying and whatever, please do hit the like button, get into the comment section if you've not done so already. Hail, hail, and moan the hoops.